In today's video, I'll be going over 3 ways to purchase a duplex with low or no money. And the best part is that I've actually used all 3 strategies. All 3 of these strategies are easy to implement and you can do it too. And make sure to watch all 3 strategies because the very last strategy, I'll be telling how I was able to purchase a cash flowing duplex for $0 out of my pocket. So make sure to stick around for that. The reason that I think that this video will be beneficial for you or anyone looking to get into real estate investing is because there's this misconception that you need a lot of money to get into real estate investing. And that's at least what I thought when I first started. But although a lot of money will 100% help you in real estate investing, it's not needed. When I was 23 years old and still in college, I purchased this duplex and it cash flowed about $400 a month and I only put $6,500 down. I had no job, no experience, and I had no idea what I was doing. All I knew is that I wanted to invest in real estate and I just wanted to jump straight into it. At 24 years old, my wife and I actually purchased this 4-unit, which this strategy can be implemented on a duplex as well, by house hacking. We put $25,000 down on this property and it's currently bringing us in about $1,700 a month in pure cash flow. And fast forward to this past year when we were 25 years old, we purchased this duplex with $0 out of our pocket and it's currently cash flowing us around $400 after all expenses. And you heard that right, we put down $0. Now the last thing I want you to think is that I'm trying to brag or toot my own horn for these accomplishments, but when in fact I just want to bring to your attention that there are multiple ways that you can actually invest in real estate with low money down. And in the grand scheme of things, my portfolio is actually extremely small compared to pretty much every other real estate investor out there. Throughout my journey, I've had a lot of help and I honestly got really lucky. So I'm just trying to be a resource for you, for anyone trying to invest in real estate that just doesn't have a lot of cash right now. Welcome back, everybody. If you are new to this channel, my name is Evan Phoenix and this channel is all about real estate investing and my journey to financial independence through real estate investing. So if that's something that you're interested in, consider subscribing to my channel and giving this video a thumbs up. Now, with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump straight into the 3 strategies to put low and no money down on investment properties. So on that first apartment building that I purchased, it was a duplex and we used seller financing. I actually found this concept by reading the book by Bigger Pockets, which is investing with low and no money down. Seller financing is a type of real estate agreement that allows the buyer to pay the seller in installments rather than using a traditional mortgage from a bank, credit union, or other financial institution. So essentially, instead of having to go to a bank, have to verify that you've worked for the past 2 years at the same company, having to do a background check, a credit check, and put down a large down payment, instead of doing all that, you can just go straight to the seller and build rapport with them. And if they trust you enough, they will go ahead and set up a seller financing agreement to where you would both benefit. The seller is basically acting as the bank and you would be paying them monthly as if they were the bank. So nothing's different really on your end. The only factor is that instead of paying a bank, you're paying the seller. So the reason that I ended up going the route of seller financing, it was because I was still in college, I was an athlete, and I didn't have a job. So my only options were to partner with someone that had money or do seller financing. And since I wanted to do it myself, I ended up going the route of seller financing. This property was in my college town and we found it for $65,000. And of all places, we found it off Craigslist. And by the way, when I say we, my wife and I probably reached out to 100 people through mailings or phone calls before even getting to this one. So I just want you to know, just stay persistent and things will work out. You'll end up finding a deal. But between the seller and I, we agreed on $67,000. I would put $6,500 down as a down payment, including closing costs. It would be amortized over 25 years. There would be a balloon payment at that 5-year mark, meaning that I would get a new mortgage and pay him off what I owe him. So it's basically a cash out refinance that would pay him off. And this allowed me to own a property without having to go to a bank and not even having a job at the time. And it cash flowed about $400 a month. Moving on to the second strategy, which is house hacking. My wife and I purchased this 4-unit apartment complex and we lived in one of the units while renting out the other 3. The best part was that the other 3 units were actually paying for our mortgage every single month and we were getting paid to live there. And just for those of you that do not know, house hacking is essentially buying a 2 to 4 unit residential building with an FHA 3.5% down loan. So you're putting less money down and you're able to live in one of the units and rent out the other units so that they can pay down your mortgage. The benefits are that you are owning real estate, you're learning how to be a landlord by managing the other units, and they're paying down your mortgage for you and hopefully lowering the cost of living. Because of all those reasons, I think house hacking is the best way to get into real estate investing to build wealth. Now, the steps to get set up for this are basically reaching out to a loan officer, to which getting approved for a 3.5% FHA loan. Then you would want to find your deal finder. So either a real estate agent to set you up on automatic searches, or reach out to a wholesaler that's in your area that has duplexes come up all the time. The majority of the time, wholesalers are going to have more properties that need rehab. So going the agent route is probably your best bet. So we ended up buying this house hack for $430,000 and we only had to put 3.5% down. We negotiated that the seller would pay $5,000 in seller credit. So with all that being said, we ended up putting about $25,000 down on this property. Now, I know what you might be thinking right now. Hey, Evan, $25,000, that's a lot of money, which it is, but you have to put everything into perspective. We paid $25,000 to have control of a now worth $550,000 asset that produces about $1,700 to $1,800 a month in cash flow. At the time of purchase, rents were about $4,400. We found it off market. I cold called the owner by seeing a for rent sign in the window and just basically asked if they wanted to sell it. We moved into one of the units. It started to update all the other units, which in turn forced value into the property. And now that property is worth about $550,000 and it brings in $5,650 every single month in gross income. After 1 full year of living there, which is a requirement with the FHA, we ended up refinancing out into a conventional and then moved out of the property. So now that property, like I said earlier, is cash flowing about $1,700 to $1,800 a month in pure cash flow. Now, one tip for you when you're negotiating and purchasing a house hack is that you can ask the seller for seller contribution, meaning that they pay for your closing costs, which could in turn save you about $10,000 or more from the sale of that house. So instead of paying that $10,000, you'd essentially get to keep that and maybe put it into the property to raise the value of it. Okay, so the third strategy, which we actually paid $0 out of our pocket and it cash flows about $300 to $400 a month, is leveraging our property and seller financing. So you might be confused, but let me explain. We leveraged our 4 unit that I was just talking about that we house hacked. We leveraged that by pulling a HELOC on that, which is a home equity line of credit. Basically, when you have equity inside of a property, you can go to a bank and have them give you a home equity loan, home equity line of credit, or you can do a cash out refinance to pull that equity out of that property and then deploy that to make it work for you instead of just letting it sit there in that property. So what we did is we went to the bank, we got a HELOC from that 4 unit, and then we were looking for another rental property. We came across this duplex and we honestly were in contact for about a year or 2. So I was building up rapport. And then eventually we offered to see if they would do seller financing and they agreed. So we ended up purchasing this property for $270,000 with a seller finance of $60,000. So if I remember correctly, we would have had to bring about 3% of the purchase price plus closing costs, which we were able to bring to the table with the money from our HELOC. So we essentially put $0 out of our own pockets. We took the money that we leveraged from our 4 unit and we put that into the deal to purchase our duplex. I hope that all made sense. The one thing to note though, when you are purchasing a property with a home equity line of credit, is that there's a variable interest rate, meaning that it can go up or it can go lower than what you initially signed up for. That is why I believe the best way to use a home equity line of credit is for shorter term debt that you can pay off between 1 and 3 years. The last thing you want to do is use all of your home equity line of credit. The interest rates rise and then you're paying a lot more money on the money you use than what you expected. Then you get caught in a bad situation. And the second tip I'll say is when you're purchasing a property with seller financing through a bank, make sure that they can use that seller financing as part of the down payment on the property. And what I mean by that is since I was able to get $60,000 of seller financing from the owner, they were able to subtract that $60,000 from the down payment. So instead of me having to put 25% down on $270,000, I only had to put 3% down because the seller was financing that $60,000. Ultimately, there are a lot of ways to put low and money down on investment properties. These are just 3 3 of the strategies that I personally use that I wanted to share with you to either introduce you to it or let you know a little bit more about them, because I know when first starting out, and honestly right now in my career, money is hard to get a hold of, especially if you are continually trying to improve your property and trying to purchase other properties. If you learned anything from this video or just enjoyed it, do me a favor, go down and give me a thumbs up on this video and subscribe to my channel, and that would mean the world to me. Thank you everybody, and happy investing.